Hi, everybody. I'm Emily Rodenhouse from Workgrid Marketing, and I'm here with Brett Caldon, founder and CEO of Workgrid. Brett recently discussed the topic of remote onboarding on a webcast for the Society of Human Resource Management. We got a lot of great questions during that event, and since we weren't able to get to them all, we thought we'd take a few minutes to cover them now. Brett, one of the topics you covered in the webinar was the importance of pre-boarding. Making sure that engagement starts as soon as possible, ideally really as soon as the new employee signs their offer letter. The whole idea generated a lot of interest. People thought it was pretty interesting sounding, but it also brought up a lot of questions. So for example, what are some of the best kinds of information that organizations can send prior to the actual start date, especially given the concerns around there being payroll implications and those kinds of legalities?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the largest impact you can have is going to be about engagement, and as early as you can do that with new hires. You see a lot recently where your offers are accepted, and that time between taking the offer and then actually your start date, there's some risk there, and there's some opportunity as well as that risk. We've heard of ghosting recently, where candidates accept an offer and then don't show up or renege on the offer in that period between. So I think filling that void is a critical moment of truth that a lot of enterprises just haven't leveraged yet. And to your point, the engagement aspects of that are really the important things. Certainly, you don't want these people in the pre-boarding journey to be actually doing work, and that's not the case. But there's a lot of those moments of truth, touch points that you can enact with your employees in that period, whether it's communications from a welcome message from the CEO, cultural things, mission, vision. Anything that's even relevant to who their teammates are going to be, an early introduction, right? Some of those really critical things that lets them know they're a part of the company before they get there.
Yep.
I think those are really, really important engagement aspects that can be really leveraged for benefit.
Okay, so that makes sense. So essentially what you're saying then is that it's basically any kind of optional engagement initiatives that you could do in that time frame until they start.
Yeah, and it's different in every case. You can probably look at some even transactional things that don't require an enterprise ID to enact. So some of those facilitation of forms-based things and things that are typically things on the checklist that you could get out of the way. You can leverage some of those. Again, there is that always concern of what is in the legislature for as far as the legislation rules. That you want to be mindful of those. But there are plenty of things you can bring back into the pre-boarding experience.
Yep, right. Okay, cool. So now for question number 2. What are some effective feedback opportunities for onboarding? Lots of organizations, of course, do those interviews after the first month to kind of check in and see how things are doing. That's sort of a standard part of the process. But there was a lot of interest in what some of the other touches could be in that time frame.
Yeah, I think it should be consistent throughout the process. I think what you typically see is anytime you're doing those post-interview type things, the employee's looking in the rear view. And I'm sure there were moments and improvements that you can capture along the way when they're top of mind and happening. So I think, the feedback channel for, a bi-directional feedback channel is critical for this process because, you really want to empower the manager to have a view of what's going on and to help the employee during this onboarding journey. But you also want the employee to be able to reach out and reach out in a way that's trusted and in the moment, like I said. So not necessarily checking in with them once a month, the month after they're there, because a lot of the difficulty or any trouble they're going to have with the onboarding process is going to happen long before then.
So it's essentially about having kind of an ongoing conversation. I mean, you're trying to forge a relationship really between the organization and the employee. And that really is all about communication and making sure that there are open channels at all times, not just preset times along the journey.
Exactly. Okay. When I say open channel, it's bi-directional, right? It needs to be both ways.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. So now for the third and final question that we got. How do you get organizations and leaders to really understand why a successful onboarding process is just so important to a successful employee journey?
Yeah, in a tight labor market, when you're really fighting for the right skilled people to join the company, recruitment and retention are major facets to this. Now, I think most employees, I think the stats are decide whether they want to stay with a company within the first 6 months. So that generally is really all about onboarding and assimilation into the company and feeling like they're being a part of it. So anything that you can do within the onboarding process to make it easy, make it engaging, and really make that employee feel like they're joining a company they want to join and they have vision and mission.
Right.
You know, they have excitement themselves for what the job they're going to be doing, as well as the company. All that starts early. It all starts with onboarding. I mean,
Yep.
I think in every enterprise, right, when you're hiring someone, your first moments of truth are onboarding, and you know, you tend to carry some of those first experiences, or you know, even if they're perceptions, you carry them with you. So getting that right early is very important, certainly as it relates to retention.
Okay, cool. It's like anything else, right? You want to make sure you get started on the right foot, I imagine. This has been awesome, Brett. Thanks so much for taking the time to share your thoughts with our audience. Thanks so much for watching. If you guys have any other questions about how to get remote onboarding right, or any advice that you're looking for on how to improve your employee experience, check us out at workgrid.com. Thanks. Have a great day.